Just a good old boy.
Investigation. So several current and former members of the McBee Police Department now turning themselves into South Carolina Law Enforcement Division agents. This is in connection to an investigation regarding ticket quotas allegedly implemented by police leaders.
We have to give a special thanks to this man right here holding the microphone, Mr. Jody Barr. He has made progress where the rest of us had thought that this would never end, is that we would have no voice. He risked his life. You know, the internet is undefeated. You read the comments of his reports, and there will always be that one comment that says, Jody, you need to get protection. You better watch out. Which is the same advice I get. What is that all about? But the intro, I'm taking back the Dukes of Hazzard, okay? That was my childhood. It wasn't about what these guys are trying to call themselves, the good old boys. No. No. The behaviors that are being exhibited by this group of people who are doing massively bad things in connection with public funded services, using public funds for their own benefits. And then if it's not enough, then they want to take the taxpayers and exploit them for the services that they've already paid for. They already contributed to, peaceful conduct and in the enforcement of peaceful communities, protecting the communities. And these poor people in McBee, I did the math. So McBee is only like 1.3 square miles. I think it came out that Columbia, who was their competitor for 2024 for ticket production, the numbers, it's in one of my previous episodes. So a town of 1.3 square miles barely took second place to a town, Columbia, 138 something square miles. Yeah. The population here in McBee is like 700, which has dropped due to, this environment that is very, very unhealthy for these wonderful people who make this town, who compose this area into a community. And we're going to study some more because there's so much more going here. And it mirrors a couple of other towns that border this town. So what is that all about? We're going to find out. Well, we're going to look and see what we can learn and use what we learn to see what we can do. But these are not good old boys. No. I would dare compare them more to an organization like the Taliban. Yeah, the Taliban goes around and gathers orphans. Yeah, and young girls. And they form an organization of gang mentality affiliations, and they do massive harm. And what I also want to just talk about today, support for everyone out there who just wants to grab their gun, like what happened to the poor officer, because people get tired of being abused. It does say that shooter had a history, had reported that he had been bullied. Now, this town only has 700 people, and we see the people who are the cornerstones of the town, the people who everybody in that town probably knows. So this young man being bullied is not a separate subject. It is something about this community and what has been allowed to disrupt their community. And I just, I give credit to the FBI for stepping in and, asking for higher standards for the community. But at the same time, I feel like we lost some of the good ones. I feel like these guys could have been good guys had they not somewhere been abandoned and picked up by some nefarious organizers who, instead of guiding them when they were young men into places that would build and support the community, build and support the survival of bloodlines and generations that have always lived in that 1.3 mile area. Instead of that, they chose some kind of tyranny, some kind of recruitment for, blind loyalty to push their motive. And as we see, they weren't the ones who were in the floorboard of a car getting shot at. So let's look further into this because it's a whole lot more than some traffic tickets. But it's a very good start. It is a very good place to begin to rebuild this community. And my prayers go out to everyone involved in this situation. It could have been so much better. My concern for young men and women of influential age being abandoned is not by their parents. Their parents are working, but we do live in a different culture right now. Even though we progressed from a place that had no respect for women's rights. We came from a place of bigotry. We came from a place of narcissism, and now we have super intelligence, according to Mr. Elon Musk and all of them. I don't doubt it. That intelligence was built from the history of our ancestry, the life that we've lived, the intelligence that our villages, our communities have learned and developed. It wasn't developed by a computer. Everything in artificial intelligence, it's based off of human intelligence. So come on. But right now we're being forced to the brink. People are being depleted financially, and it seems to feel like it's intentional. It seems to feel like they're wanting for a lot of us to return to it. And even the ones who think that they're not going to be a part of the vulnerability. They're going to steal their way out of it. They're going to create a scally band that allows them to have money while none of us do. But the problem is that's not a successful plan. Come on, please work with me. Think about it. You don't want your village to be financially starving, and you don't want, everybody's talking about what is that, some kind of martial law. You think that's what you want? You want to shoot your way out of these problems? Let me show you. Whether you're Gaza war is to be determined, just such as the Vietnam War and several other wars that we've been involved with. As many people as I have tried to ask that they explain it to me, no one ever says the same thing, and no one agrees about it. So I don't know why some of these wars have happened. And I don't know why the gods of war is happening, but let me show you what war can do to a community, a village, in a very, very, very small amount of time. Just look at this. This is not a resolution. No. No, these are people. This is a village. This is a community that had years of meaningful existence and then were abruptly put into a place of dire threat to life. And so everyone who is planning behind the scenes to be some kind of part of a scallywag who's going to join the martial law, here's what you're going to have left over. This is what you want for your family, for your future generations. This is what you want them to have. I don't get it. I really don't. But my prayers are for, some higher standards. For some people to get involved. And, the law is the law. The facts are the facts. People are being stolen from. People are being abused, such as myself, I can say personally. The law, the judicial process that our founding fathers created to have some type of substantial future for generations beyond their own is being used predominantly for criminal actions. So come on, y'all. Somebody figure this out. Like, how do we get around this? We can. And I don't think it involves just annihilating our villages. And that's the thing. So our villages have been abandoned by, some kind of spiritual warfare. These young men wanted to be police officers. I have to imagine that at some point in that commitment, they thought they were going to be doing a service to the community. They thought they were going to be providing benefit. They thought that they were going to be part of the solution, not the main factor in the problem. I pray that we will not lose one more soul to darkness. I pray over the state of South Carolina that people will humble themselves and seek goodness, that they will turn from their wicked ways and they will hear a sound from heaven and they will be forgiven of their sins and their land will be healed by those who believe, by those who have the faith